Considering the drawbacks present in the current standard brain tumor detection test, scientists from the Cancer Research UK and Cambridge Institute have developed two tests that can detect the presence of glioma, that is most common brain tumor, by using patients' urine or blood plasma, which is first of its kind in the world. Before starting with the content of this new discovery, let me give you a small intro about the existing standard method for detection of brain tumor. We must have come across many brain tumor patient stories saying that they initially faced severe headache, following that behavior changes, confusion, difficulty with balance, trouble in concentrating, nausea and vomiting, problems with hearing, vision or speech, seizures, unusual sleepiness, etc. By hearing these symptoms, doctors might be able to predict it as some kind of tumor. The most common brain tumor is glioma. These tumors develop in glial cells which surrounds and assist nerve cells. So to confirm their prediction, doctors will perform MRI scanning, which is standard one to detect brain tumors. They can confirm the tumors in MRI scan, but they can't say what type of tumors it is. So following the confirmation in MRI scan, they will perform biopsy, such as examining the small amount of tissue collected from the affected area. In our case, they will perform studies on the brain tissue to detect what type of tumor it is to start respective treatment. So if you see the drawbacks of this standard process, it will cost around 5,000 rupees to 15,000 rupees to perform MRI scan, and following that biopsy procedure is also included, which is painful one. So it is kind of costly and complex one to proceed. If cost is not the problem, then listen to this. When people have a brain tumor removed, the likelihood of it returning can be high. So they are monitored with MRI scan every 3 months, which is followed by biopsy. So every 3 months, patients are tested with MRI and biopsy procedure to check any reappearance of tumors. Considering all these drawbacks, scientists from the Cancer Research UK and Cambridge Institute have developed two tests that can detect the presence of glioma, the most common brain tumor I mentioned before, by using patients' urine, which is first of its kind in the world. When they said it is first of its own kind, where urine is used to detect the brain cancer, I was surprised and wondering, if it is possible to detect using urine, then why not with the blood? Blood is a major transport vehicle in the body and high in volume compared to urine. So detecting brain cancer will be easy with blood, right? Well, don't bother about it, because just like how we thought now, from many years scientists are doing their research on this concept also. Blood tests for detecting different cancer types are a major focus of research for teams across the world, and there are some in use in the clinic. As usual, when the tumor cells are formed in the body, normally called as cancer, their cell DNA is found to be collapsed. It is called as mutated DNA, which means alteration or change in the natural cell DNA has occurred. These tests are mainly based on finding that mutated DNA. This mutated DNA will be released to the blood by tumor cells when they die, known as cell-free DNA. This cell-free DNA is the target to detect the presence of brain tumors. If cell-free DNA is present, then it indicates the presence of tumors. As simple as it is. However, detecting brain tumor based on cell-free DNA in the blood has historically been difficult because of the blood-brain barrier. Blood-brain barrier is a protective layer which separates blood from the cerebrospinal fluid that surrounds the brain and spinal cord. This blood-brain barrier will allow only specific components which follow their rules in order to protect the brain from the components present in the blood. So in that way, the passage of the cell-free DNA also prevented by this blood-brain barrier. And so detecting brain tumor using blood is difficult, and hence scientists were trying many alternative ways. After many years of research, scientists figured it out that cell-free DNA with similar mutations to the original tumor can be found in blood and other bodily fluids such as urine in very low levels. But the challenge was developing a test sensitive enough to detect these specific mutations in low concentration. After many trials and studies in this area, scientists developed two approaches in parallel to overcome the challenges of detecting brain tumor cell-free DNA. The first approach works for patients who have previously had glioma removed and biopsied. So this approach is to check whether the treatment worked or not, and to see any further mutation occurring in it. The team designed a tumor-guided sequencing test that was able to look for the mutation found in the tumor tissue within the cell-free DNA in the patient's urine. There need to be some evidence to agree this, right? So they performed a study for that. A total of 8 patients who had suspected brain tumors based on MRIs were included in this part of the study. Samples were taken at their initial brain tumor biopsies alongside urine samples. By knowing where in the DNA strand to look, the researchers found that it was possible to find a mutation even in the tiny amounts of cell-free DNA found in urine. The test was able to detect cell-free DNA in 10 out of 16 urine samples. In terms of percentage, it is 62% effective detecting brain tumors in the brain just using urine. Earlier I mentioned scientists found 2 parallel approaches. So following this first one, in second approach the researchers looked for the other patterns in the cell-free DNA that could also indicate the presence of tumor without having to identify the mutations. In the sense, they mingled all the people with other types of brain tumors and healthy people to exactly find the glioma tumors out of many other types of tumors. They analyzed the 35 samples from the glioma patients, 27 people with non-malignant brain disorders and 26 healthy people. They used whole genome sequencing where all the cell-free DNAs of the tumors is analyzed, not just the mutation. They found in the urine sample that the fragments of cell-free DNA which came from the patients with brain tumors were different in size than those patients with no tumors in the brain. They then fed this data into machine learning algorithm which was able to successfully differentiate between the urine samples of the people with and without glioma tumor. Wow, isn't it amazing? By hearing both approaches, we can easily say second approach looks more promising than the first one, right? That's what even scientists are saying. But they are taking these 2 innovative approaches seriously to make it useful for millions of patients to reduce their trauma. The researchers suggest that their test could be used between MRI scans and could ultimately be able to detect a returning brain tumor earlier. The next stage of this research will see the team comparing both the tests against MRI scan in a trial with patients with brain tumors who are in effective treatment to see if it can detect the returns of brain tumor at the same time or earlier than the MRI. If the test proves that they can detect the brain tumors earlier than an MRI, then the researchers will look at how they can adapt this test so that they could offer it in a clinic, which could be within next 10 years. Even though it will be available only in future, it is grabbing a lot of attention because of the current problems in standard MRI procedure present. Different circumstances, situations like pandemics might cause disruption to the process. As a patient, this causes worry as there is a risk that things may be missed or delayed. Because the early interventions is the key to any successful treatment. That's it guys, I hope you liked this video. Please do subscribe and press that bell button to get more updates from my channel. This is your Vignesh. See you guys in one more interesting medical update.